Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 65. We got the NFL draft winners and losers. We're brought to you by Dynasty Theory in partnership with Dynasty Daddy, and as always, Fantasy Football Infinity. You guys should join the Dynasty Theory Discord. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I got Holler and the real McSpankster with me tonight. How's it going, guys?
Good, man. It's good to be back. It's fun that the NFL draft is finally over. All that, debating about where guys are going to go and, landing spots. And, it's good to finally get that under our belts. We can start working on some projections. But now we have to wait until September until actual football gets played. So
yeah, man.
we got a ways to go.
Yep. Little shout out to JB and Mitch for being live for all the hours of the draft. That was really awesome.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm super stoked. I've been diving into my rookie drafts, and I realized I have too many fantasy teams. That's what I've realized.
Maybe just a couple.
Same, and you maybe join another one today.
That's true.
You suckers.
Can't
why I
stop.
don't get into Debbie. That's why I don't get into Debbie, because I'll get sucked into it. No way. Were you guys happy with your team's drafts?
No.
I was
not happy.
I questioned the Trey Benson, or not Trey, excuse me, Blake Corum. But
they're the same guy. I don't question it. I could see exactly why you would do it.
Well, I think
fantasy.
Yeah, I think where they got him is good, but two really good defensive guys. They're both from Florida State, so I was stoked on that.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be good. And then, but I would have rather them take a little bit different running back, just so to be able to use both of them. But we'll see. But yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later. But I was happy with their draft overall. I thought it was really good.
I think it's smart. I think it's smart.
Yeah, really for sure. You couldn't go into the season with just Kyron, basically.
Yeah,
as much as I like Kyron Williams, you need at least two guys.
It was more the running back, who it was versus a running back. I was good to get a running back, but they got basically the same guy. They have two of the same guy, but really.
Yeah, but schematically though, exactly, you can put Kyron on the field and you're gonna do the same thing. You put Blake on the field and you do the same thing. You don't really know.
Blake Corum's not. I think he gets too much credit as a pass catcher. I don't think he's that good of a pass catcher. I think he can do it, but Kyron's basically a receiver. Kyron's actually a really good receiver out of the backfield. So,
well, hopefully it's that 70-30 split we saw rumored today.
I saw that. Yeah, I was gonna say
all the Kyron owners.
And then another rumor was they're gonna give some goal line touches to Corum, which I don't know about that. So we'll see.
Dude, finds the end zone.
Good. Yeah, we had 18 touchdowns last year.
Yeah,
I just have a good amount of Kyron, so it doesn't.
12 of those were from within the 3. So
right.
Yeah. I just mainly don't love it for Kyron, So.
Oh, for sure. It's like the Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet shenanigans all over again.
Yeah, no, that's not a competition. Don't worry about that one. McSpanky, which pick did you hate the most from the Raiders? What did you hate about it?
So Brock Bowers is fine. It was a good value. It is what it is. I know the quarterbacks are gone at that point, so it kind of. I wanted Quinyon Mitchell personally. Sure of the backfield, or the defensive back, but it is what it is. But Brock Bowers, he's one of the more talented players in the draft, so I can't get too mad about that. And then in the second round, we got that kid from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson, who I think they're going to slot him at right guard, which is nice because he can't snap the ball, even though he played center at Oregon, which is kind of comical. If you ever watch any of his tape or Bo Nix's tape, you can just see snaps just all over the damn place. But so he's going to play guard, and then from that point on, it went bananas. It was bad from that point on, reaching on offensive tackles who had a day 3 grade in the 3rd round, and just. It's what it is, man. But it's all good. Nothing new.
Dang it. Well, the Lions drafted some corners. I was pretty happy about it.
All the corners.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get it. Just there's got to be a dude out of all these dudes we signed and drafted this year. So I get just mass throwing darts at the position, but it kind of slightly stinks because it's how are we going to get all these guys on the field too? To play at
a lot of the same.
So,
yeah, a lot of the same.
But no, I think they were really good draft picks for sure. I was really excited about Terry and Arnold falling that far. I didn't even think possible. Like I thought we were looking at Kool-Aid like all freaking year long. Anyway,
and they moved up to get him, which was cool. So
yeah, very much so. So the Cowboys re-signed Zeke Elliott. Is he the lead back now again in Dallas?
Maybe. Dude, so I don't know. Is this honest question? I'm not trying to piss off Dan, but is this like the worst backfield in the NFL right now? Like this is their depth chart. So you got Zeke, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman. What?
Yes.
What are we doing? I thought they were supposed to be all in.
You could rival Chargers is pretty rough, but I know Gus is better than
Gus Edwards is better than any of those guys.
That's what I was gonna say. Gus is better than any of those guys. So
right. And Dobbins is there, and we've seen Dobbins do things. He's just not healthy ever.
J.K. Dobbins on one leg is probably better than half those guys. So
I want to see the Giants depth chart.
Well, they have
Devin
Singletary.
It's gross. It's Tyrone
Tracy. Right.
They just drafted.
Yeah.
There's a couple pretty bad
second.
Yeah,
the Cowboys.
Like, are any of these guys going to be relevant, like fantasy wise, or is it just going to be like maybe if one of them happens to fall into the end zone 1 week?
That's why I think it's going to be Zeke and the savvy veteran. Just falling into the end zone a few times. He's out there leaking out, just giving Dak just however many receptions a game, or I don't know, dude. It's got to be Zeke just because.
Reminds me of who was that guy for the Carolina Panthers way back? Mike Tolbert? Was he the
Mike Tolbert? Dude,
yeah. He didn't do anything. Like I don't think he ever topped like 35 yards in a game, but like he had like 12 touchdowns on the season, and so like you could start him and kind of be okay, and that might be Zeke.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. But I remember that like the end of last year, Zeke was okay to start, but that's if you're like, I remember starting him on teams that are pretty bad. So that's, not a good equation. But, I think out of these guys, I think it could be Zeke. I know Dowdle's not good, but I think he could compete for touches as well. And so I think like they usually do, I think they're going to use multiple guys. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to put any of these guys in my lineup. So, so to answer it, no, I don't think any of these guys will be relevant. I do think maybe they'll get some touchdowns, like Zeke will get some touchdowns, but I think it'll be kind of hit or miss. So I wouldn't want to put him in my lineup, to be honest. Maybe like a bye week, hopefully, but by then, hopefully you have, somebody else that's come up and done something.
Honestly, Deuce Vaughn's probably the most talented running back on that roster right now. But his problem, he's like 5'6" and like
tiny.
About 50. So
he did do pretty well in at Kansas State, so I will give him that. But he is tiny.
Yeah, man. I wish we got to see him a little bit.
Maybe this year.
Raiders signed Michael Gallup. Are you just over the moon?
Okay.
All right.
From like a real life football perspective, I think the Raiders needed someone, right? It was Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, and I think Trey Tucker was our wide receiver 3 at that. And then I honestly don't know if I can name another one after that. So definitely needed someone. Michael Gallup is a football player, is the nicest way I can say this at this point. But he'll be fine. He'll show up. And
do you feel like they're going to use? So we can get into it a little bit more later. But do you feel like they're going to use Bowers more like a wide receiver than a tight end? That's what I'm thinking too. So, I don't want to get into too much, but I think Mayer isn't fully dead. But
I don't think
I think they'll use both of them. But
I don't think he's dead, but his ceiling's capped. I think he turned into like a Dawson Knox kind of trajectory, as opposed to like a true tight end 1 that I think we were all kind of hoping from last year.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
But he's not like dead. He's just less useful.
I think he's 100% dead. I think.
Yeah. Okay. But like, think about the tight end landscape, and let's say he catches like 7 touchdowns. That's good enough to be probably like tight end like 12.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
That's assuming the Raiders
it does seem like a lot, but like
7 times.
Okay.
Let's be careful. Now come on.
Now we're just being hurtful.
Listen, but I know I'm not trying to be mean. All joking
Minshew can
aside,
sling it, man.
Listen, Devontae is going to get those targets in the red zone. Bowers is going to get the targets. They're going to have goal line carries. Like, so this coaching staff, even though it is new, they were the interim, coaching staff going through the end of that season. They sat there with Michael Mayer, and they've kind of seen what Michael Mayer has, and they decided we're taking this tight end, top 20 draft. I know he's super talented.
I think
probably not.
What happened was all the quarterbacks went, and they said, well, crap, let's just take the best player who's available here. And it happened to be Brock Bowers, and they said, we'll figure it out. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you there.
Dead.
Yeah, I really like the Spanky. I really like the comp there of Mayer to Knox. Like, that's what Bill was saying as well. Like, Bowers are going to be used like Kincaid, so good situational comp of Mayer to Knox. Like, that's pretty spot on.
I've given it a lot of thought, laying awake at night in my room trying to compensate.
Why would we do this? Okay. You guys want to talk about your early roster ship?
Yeah. So obviously, some of our leagues are still drafting, and they're like on sleeper. They don't get into your roster until after the draft's done. So this is going to change quite a bit. But some of my most drafted players, Marshawn Lloyd. I think I got like 39% ownership, which I've been scooping him up in the third round, kind of everywhere. I think he's in a good situation I thought he's a really good running back. He got good draft capital in the third round there. He's behind Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. It's a good offense. Josh Jacobs' deal, it's kind of a year-to-year kind of deal where the Packers can basically get out anytime they want. So it's one of those things where if they decide they don't want to keep paying him, maybe as early as next year, Marshawn Lloyd could be the guy. And like I don't think he's in any danger of not beating out AJ Dillon as the number 2 guy. So that's kind of an exciting one there too. JJ McCarthy is probably the one I get the most. He's by far my most rostered quarterback at this point. I've been taking him as high as 4 and kind of just all over the place. I've traded up a couple times to get JJ McCarthy. I think he's the one that the quarterback who landed in by far the best situation. He has the best play caller and the best surrounding weapons in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Not to mention Aaron Jones is a good pass catcher for checkdowns. TJ Hawkinson, when he's back healthy, I mean, that's by far the best set of skill talent around one of these rookie quarterbacks. So I'm just scooping him up everywhere. What about you, Holler?
So I've taken a couple times, I'll be honest, taking JJ over Drake May when I've had the option.
I have 100 times. I have a bunch.
Yeah, so, I just can't say the same thing, like just landing with the quarterback, the coach, the weapons, everything is just like spot on there for JJ McCarthy. I think Drake May is probably the better quarterback, but I don't know. At the end of the day, you can kind of flip a coin there. But early roster ship for me, some guys that I like to stick out. I got Cade Stover a ton, but I was on waivers. But other ones I've drafted: Jatavion Sanders, Troy Franklin, Will Shipley, and Bo Nix are my big ones. I have 7 of Baker and Sanders, 6 of Franklin and Shipley, and then 5 of Bo Nix. And the 2 things I wanted to stick out is like Will Shipley. I've been getting late third, which I think he could be the back up to Saquon. And Saquon has a injury history, so I think he can. Yeah. Like if I kind of think of it like Boston Scott, like you're going to probably use him a little bit like that. Not the same player, but I just think they're going to use him a lot. And then Troy Franklin, I've been getting like early third. Sometimes I take him in the late second because I know he dropped into the 4th round, but I just think he's still a good player. And, I think landing with Bo Nix is going to be really good for him. And I also like Sean Payton. So I think they're going to, use him. And then Javon Baker, I just love him a lot. So I think landing in New England, there's not really anybody there other than Jalen Polk. So I just think as well, I've been scooping him up in the 3rd, sometimes the 4th.
Yeah, the Franklin thing is kind of cool just because him and Bo Nix play together at Oregon, so they have kind of that built-in rapport, which Nix might favor him early on, and there's still rumors that Courtland Sutton might be gone, so that receiving core might just be Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, and
that'd be great.
Maybe
I would love that
if he's healthy. So
Tim Patrick.
Yeah, he's
and
still
then
rejoice.
Bo Nix, real quick. there's times where I've been at the back of the first and I really need a quarterback, and I've taken him like 110, 1-9 one time, and I just really, really needed a quarterback. And so he's going to be the starting quarterback, I think. And, I just think you can't pass that up. I think he will be all right with Sean Payton, same as like Troy Franklin. I just think, there's some flaws there, but I think he'll be all right. And I think it'll help me get through in the spots I really needed a quarterback. So we'll see.
Here's the thing about Nix. This is probably no surprise coming from me, but he operates an offense really well. He has a really high football IQ. Sean Payton, he's going to do exactly what Sean Payton asked him to do. And if you have any kind of trust in Payton's offense, Nix is going to be able to execute it well. Now, he might not be the most talented quarterback in the league, because he's not, but
certainly the oldest.
But but I mean, look at like what Brock Purdy does, right? Kind of a similar, and I think Nick's a better talent than Brock Purdy, but like he does what the offense puts him in a situation to do. He reads the offense, reads the defense that's running there, and he gets the right play in, and he goes the right read, like keeps the offense on the field, moves it. I think Bo Nix is going to be fine. I'm fine taking him as high as 109, and I have done that a couple times.
I have as well. That's the earliest I've taken him. And then two guys that are not on this list, but I know I'm going to have a bunch of is I'm going to butcher his name. Let me look on my list real quick. Kamani Vidal and then Tyrone Tracy. I've gotten a bunch of those guys, and so I think those drafts are still going. And so I think I will have a lot of those guys because I've noticed a lot of times that Tyrone Tracy, like people don't even know about him. And then Kimani Vidal, same thing. Like I didn't know much about him. Yeah. I didn't know much about him until I saw he got drafted. And then I was looking at JB's tiers. And so, those are guys that are sticking out in the third when you're throwing darts. I think they're both in good situations. New York, the Giants only have, I just said it, I'm going to forget. Singletary. Oh. And then Vidal, I think that's the type of player that Harbaugh likes a lot. So, that in the third round, like Javon Baker, Vidal, and even Will Shipley, and then Tyrone Tracy. Those are my four like favorite players in the third round. And then Corley, but most of the time he's early third. So for some reason I've had a good amount of thirds. So those are like the four players I've been looking at. And then if you're still doing your drafts, those are some guys that you could go get in the third, and some people won't even know.
One more name in the third round that I've scooped up quite a bit is Ray Davis. He's running back from Kentucky. He went to the Buffalo Bills in the. You're my boy, Ray. He went to the Bills in the fourth round. So not like great draft capital, but it's okay enough. And the Bills, I mean, it's just James Cook there, really. So Ray Davis could very easily be kind of right there in the mix, like that 1B kind of running back. He might even, they don't really give James Cook like goal line carry, so Ray Davis could very easily be a goal line guy. Assuming Josh Allen isn't getting all of them. Which
Frank Gore?
We saw. Yeah,
I think he signed with them too, but
I think some of those bloodlines.
Yeah, I just think
you can't help it.
I think Ray Davis is
a name.
Ray Davis is a good player though. Like he's actually a pretty competent like pass catcher. He's a good runner too. So
I think I watched a little bit of Ray Davis. I liked Ray Davis.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. He's got some juice.
My dudes, my highest roster right now is Ladd. Ladd, Estime, and then I'm kind of still waiting on a bunch of drafts to finish, to be honest. But I'm like Holler, I've been picking up a lot of Malachi Corley early in the third. Like at that point, I'll take a shot at an Aaron Rodgers pass catcher.
And they don't really have a two outside of they don't have a wide receiver two. I mean, Alan Lazard's still there, but
the Lazard King's there. Big Mike for 3 games.
Yeah, that's
right.
Exactly.
Right. But the thing that kind of makes me kind of excited for Corley in that offense is like he just has the one like screen skill set, and that's like what he does kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like yak deal. Like
it's a great spot for him, like a landing spot.
Yeah. Yeah, like they need that skill set in the offense, and like now Garrett Wilson doesn't have to do that. Big Mike Williams isn't doing that for sure. Like nobody's taking those touches from him.
Yep.
Yeah, like he could just do what he does best, which is basically catch screens beyond the line of scrimmage, and then just do his. He's the Yak King. It's on his Twitter profile. I don't know if you guys ever seen
Yeah.
And so he's not in a spot where he has to be like the guy or has to, suddenly run routes like a full route tree. He can just kind of do his little thingy.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really liked him going into the draft. I think some people thought he would go a little bit earlier, but I think end of the day that was a good landing spot for him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to trade up for him too, I believe, as well.
I think they tried multiple times, and I think they ended up having they finally got a bite, and I think they did move up for him.
Yeah,
but not as high as they needed to.
Right. Do you guys want to get into the winners?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. These guys I picked just because they survived the draft and their situation at least stayed the same. Value kind of held on for them. We got Zamir White, J-Mo surviving out here.
Yeah.
Singletary. What? Are you laughing at my J-Mo?
Yes, I am.
Listen,
how you managed to fit J-Mo into a draft winner segment is beyond me. But go ahead.
They were talking about the Lions drafting a wide receiver, trying to get somebody into that Josh Reynolds skill set. And now I know with Donovan Peoples-Jones, I know J-Mo's better than him. Yeah. So if there's going to be targets coming J-Mo's way, it's going to be this year. We're going to finally find out for real, I think, about J-Mo this year. Really.
I saw something on Twitter. I don't exactly remember what it was, but I saw something about J-Mo. I think he was a winner of the draft because they didn't get anybody. So to me, that just says that they feel good about their receiving core.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a couple of UDFAs they were pretty happy with, and I saw make some appearances here and there.
Yeah.
Mostly just doing BS for them, but they're out there. And also Zach Moss and Chase Brown unscathed throughout the draft for the Bengals. I think that's really exciting for both of those guys for sure too.
I think it'll be a lot of I don't know about 50-50, but I think that's kind of what it will end up being, like a 50-50 split. I think Chase Brown is more the home run hitter, and then Zach Moss will just, kind of churn the yards out for them and maybe get the goal line.
The problem is going to be Moss is probably getting that goal line work. And then I also put Ricky Pears on here. Winner. I mean, who saw him going in the first? When we were talking about him, I didn't think that was happening, but he lands in San Francisco. The only thing that sucks about that is Debo and Brandon Ayuk there
for now.
For now, I think it sounds like things are brewing, and we may have to wait for Ricky Pears. I still think it's an awesome landing spot for him, just because it is San Francisco and they do pretty well with their talent development and scouting players. Please don't fact check that, because there's some pretty bad people out there like Trey Lance that they drafted. That's neither here nor there.
I mean, to their credit, they also drafted Brock Purdy, so it evens out. Ricky Pears is okay. So he needed to go to a Shanahan offense. I think he fits in super well. It's kind of funny. He goes to the Shanahan offense.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and here's the thing with that too. It's injuries happen all the time. And I think he can very easily, he's pretty fluid, where he can play kind of all the different positions that the 49ers offer. I think initially he probably takes over that Jawan Jennings role, and he's better than Jawan Jennings, right? And Jennings had some moments where he was provided real football value for them, which I think Pearsall will be able to do as well. And maybe not fantasy relevant year one, kind of as you mentioned, but I think it doesn't sound like Ayuk and Debo will be there long term. So very easily, I think even as early as next year, he can kind of be the number two guy there, and his value should increase.
Yeah. And we've seen many times Debo is missing a couple games here and there. So I think what we can hope for maybe a spot start for Pearsall. If you took him in the early second, and really if you're taking him in the early second, unless you've traded that pick, your team is still needing help, right? So you're okay with taking him there and waiting a year. Because
it's almost better if he doesn't do well with some of those early picks, because then you get another early pick next year for your first, and then if he takes off year two, it's almost worse to your advantage.
And I'm spot on with you guys there. I don't think both of those big wide receivers will be there in 2024 or 25, excuse me. So, I like it.
Yeah, and then next I had Xavier Worthy. I think a lot of people were questioning the skill set because, is he just a fast guy? Is he going to get the draft capital needed? And the Chiefs wind up, grabbing him. And I don't care how many times I get burnt by it. I will keep trying to get the next Patrick Mahomes pass catcher. I just don't care because he's going to be around forever, slinging the ball forever. And eventually somebody's taking over for Kelsey. Eventually somebody's going to have to.
So
for some reason taken a lot of Worthy? Just out of curiosity, because I can't ever seem to take him because like his ADP is around like pick 109, but I can't ever seem to pull the trigger on him when I'm there.
I think I have like rotated him in at this point to like almost to where I'm rotating Ladd, Brian Thomas, and Worthy kind of at this point. Like I took one Brian Thomas. I think I have two Worthy. With them not all being on here, it makes it a pain in the butt. I'm just trying to do this off memory. Definitely a whole bunch of Ladd at this point. So I kind of cooled it a little bit on Ladd. Probably went more towards Worthy because of the Kansas City landing spot, and then snagged a BTJ just in case I'm wrong. I want to at least have one or something. You know what I mean? But I just,
dangerous. It is. Thankfully, I have one Brian Thomas that was drafted before the draft, and I unfortunately only have one Worthy. I have three total, but one Worthy was before the draft as well, and the other two were from Debbie's. So like I loved Worthy, but I'm in the same boat as Spanky. I think I would pull the trigger at 109, but when he was there at 109. I really needed a quarterback, so I took Bo Nix over him, and I feel fine with that, right? And so I just think he's going a little bit higher than I anticipated, but I'm with you 100%. I love the landing spot for him. I think there's some rumors coming out that Rice will be out half the season, which I don't think that'll happen, but we know he's going to be out a few games. So I just think
of Deshaun Watson's punishment.
It's crazy. Jesus. It's crazy. So I just think at the end of the day, hitting the ground running, he's going to be a good, he's going to be an asset right away. And again, like you just said, he's tied to Patrick Mahomes. So I think, I don't think he's going to be a Sky Moore at all. I think he's a much better player than Sky Moore. So
and he can catch the ball. So
yeah. And so I just haven't been able to take more than as I wanted, but I'm okay with it. I just think he's going a little too high for me. And where it was in the draft, I needed a quarterback. And so I think in the spot where I could have taken him, I took Bo Nix instead.
That's fair. That 109 is a hard draft pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could go like 1,000 different ways there. You could go Worthy, BTJ, you could go Ladd. I mean, you could even sneak in Jonathan Brooks if you wanted to. Bo Nix is an option. Like it's kind of like it's almost in that spot where you don't want to be at 109. You want to kind of be like at the 111, 112 and just kind of take who the other guys didn't.
Who falls there,
back, but nobody wants to move up for that spot either. So you're kind of in that crappy spot of like no man's land.
Yep.
Yeah. It really, the reason that I have him as a winner is because if he doesn't get this Kansas City landing spot, I think he's down in the second. I think you would see him from early second to mid two, but he gets Patrick Mahomes and he gets bumped up into that question. But also like you said, put him in a bucket and shake him up and just pick one out of there basically at this point with these guys.
And not just Patrick Mahomes, but I mean Andy Reid's one of the best play callers and play designers in the NFL. Like if there's a coach out there who can design plays to fit what you do best, it's Andy Reid. So, man, I don't know. I just think Xavier Worthy, even if his workload isn't huge, he's going to get put in good spots, and I think he's going to be productive just because
we'll find out.
Even if he has 20 plays geared just for him, like they're going to be good plays, and he might score on one of them. So,
yeah. Definitely.
Yep. Shout out to Wes. He kind of put it in the chat here, tied to Reed as well. So you said it as well, Spanky. Really good landing spot for sure.
Yeah, I also put Jalen Polk. Oh yeah, last two. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. I put them as winners. They have clear paths to targets in that New England offense. I think coming in as rookies together, kind of a little bit of camaraderie here, a little bit of we hang out and do whatever together. We're all learning the NFL together. So it's part of it. I'm telling you.
They go out to brunch together.
Yeah, dude.
Saturday brunch.
Listen, the Breakfast Club. What did it do for Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp? I mean, these things do happen like that. But yeah, and really we're talking late 2s and early 3rds for these two guys here. So like at that point, man, it's pretty easy to make the choice to take one of those two.
So I like Polk a lot, and I don't know if anybody watched our guys episode. I had him as one of my guys, and I think it might be a little crazy, but I put Polk up as like my 203, 204. But he's wide receiver 8. I don't think it's too crazy, but I've had a hard time taking him in that range. I've taken some other guys before that I actually have lower, so I probably need to adjust mine a little bit. But I love the landing spot for Polk, and I just really like Javon Baker too. So I think there's a couple times where I took both of them, and so we'll just end up seeing who's the better wide receiver. And I think they're very close, right? And I think if I was suggesting people to get somebody, I think it would be Javon Baker because he's the cheaper option.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
I like Javon Baker. He's one of my guys too. It sucks that I really don't.
Oh, you guys went to the Patriots. What's going on? And you guys hate Drake May.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Hey, I don't hate Drake
real
May.
Bummer, dude. I do.
I'll
say it. I do.
Spanky does. I'll say it. I'll say it. He said.
I do have McCarthy over Drake May in my final rookie rankings, so that's being why I've been taking McCarthy. But I just think that overall, that can segue us right into one of my first winners is JJ McCarthy, the easy winner right there. We've talked about it before. I think we talked about it even before he was drafted to the Vikings. Like, just his pass catchers are amazing. Throwing it to the best one, JJ. And then, once Hawk comes back, and then you have a good pass catcher out of the back, right? So Aaron Jones. So I just think all over, he's got weapons on the field, and then his coach is really, really good. So he's just set up for success. And so I just think that's the easy, clear winner out of the quarterbacks other than Caleb. And so then one for me is Jatavian Sanders. I just think landed in a really, really good spot. I think, he doesn't have much competition for the week 1 starting role. I do know that like his blocking is kind of questionable. Sorry, Dan. I think he will easily beat out Tommy Tremble. So I just think,
the trembling.
I think what Carolina did for Bryce Young was awesome, and I think Jatavian Sanders is one of those weapons that he can use. I'm still out a little bit on like how good he will be. I know he'll be really good in like receiving and all that, but like I've said before, you've got to be a good blocker as a tight end to stay on the field. And also I've noticed he's gotten a really good, like he's getting pretty cheap. He's going as tight end 3 because of where he went. A lot of times the middle of the 3rd. So I just think that has been really, really good. And then I looped these two guys in. A lot of my winners were taken by the other guys. So I kind of looked outside the box, but so this might sound a little bit questionable here, but I think Bucky Irving is a little bit of a winner because I went back and looked at Rachaad White at the end of the last couple of games last year. He was kind of trending down, right? And so they used some of those older running backs as well, and so I just think Rachaad White's not the best running back. He's a good pass catching back, but I think, Bucky Irving is not the best running back as well, but I think he has a possibility to take over that job and will actually probably get useful touches early. And then say Rachaad White continues to, not do so well, I think he can overtake him. Mm-hmm. And then one more is Marshawn Lloyd. I think that's one that you can probably grab and stash because, like Spanky said earlier, they have an out with Josh Jacobs. And I just think Marshawn Lloyd's a really good running back. He's my running back 3 out of this class. So I just think he got to a good team. And, so I just think worst case, if you get him early 3rd, late 2nd, worst case, you can kind of stash him. If you're getting in the late 2nd, if your team was good, you probably don't need him right away. So there you go. Stash him for 2025.
So, all right, let me just touch on Bucky Irving real quick because I like that, and I really liked Bucky Irving before. And I liked him even after he tested like doo-doo. Rachaad White, he had almost 300 carries last year. That's just way too many carries for one dude. Chase Edmonds was the 2nd on the team with 60 carries.
Ooh, baby.
He'll
Bucky should. I mean, I don't think he's going to be even close to 50-50, but I think Bucky could get at least like 115 and get Rashad White down to more like a 250 range, just to kind of even it out a little bit. Like Rashad White, he can't take 300 touches again. Like the fact that he had that much volume and he stayed healthy is like kudos. But I just don't think teams are they can't do that again. Like they just can't. So I think Bucky, there's a role there. I don't think he's going to be particularly fantasy relevant without an injury, but I think from like a real life standpoint, I think he's going to be useful. Okay, now to touch on some of my winners. First one I had is Keon Coleman. I think he was kind of falling down draft boards going into the NFL draft process. I think people were kind of sick of him, but then Buffalo takes him with their first pick. In the second round, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis are now gone. That's 253 vacated targets from the Bills from last year. That was 42% of their total targets. Even if you think, Keon Coleman's not the greatest player in the world, like that's a ton of volume. And really his competition for targets is Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir, which I like Shakir and Kincaid, but I think they spend the draft capital on him. Not to mention he's rocking that Bad A coat from Macy's.
He's hilarious. He's so funny.
Media gem, dude. That's got to boost up his draft capital alone. And honestly, I think
got him drafted that early. It wasn't his route running.
I think you can make a case to take him over Brian Thomas Jr. And I know that's probably not a popular.
That's very
opinion,
spicy.
That's spicy.
I don't like
Brian
Thomas Jr. And I think it is a spicy meatball, but I think the opportunity for targets is there. As opposed to BTJ, he's got to compete with Christian Kirk, who's like a true, wide receiver out here. Evan Ingram, and then they also signed Gabe Davis. So it's kind of weird. Like you have Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. both running just nines, just both running go routes, and
yes, you do.
And that's all they can do, right? So like, what are we? I don't know. I'm not a big BTJ guy, so
I'm not either. And it's weird. Some people are like super happy with the landing spot and think it's going to be really good. But I'm with you. Like I think him and Gabe Davis are very similar. So maybe he has better hands. I don't know. But I'm not a Brian Thomas Jr. guy either. So I couldn't. I wouldn't fault anybody taking him over, taking Keon Coleman over him. But I have other guys I would take before Keon Coleman.
That's fair. It's a little bit spicy, but I think Coleman's going to be. He's the kind of guy that he's a big body. He's kind of perfect for Josh Allen, who's not the most accurate passer in the world. We're trying to send Drake May Keon Coleman offers to Jay. Fantastic. The next guy I had here was Zamir White. So, and I know Ron, you kind of touched on it. I was going to hammer home some of my points.
Go ahead.
Competition for touches is almost non-existent, right? It's Alexander Madison, who is very just meh. Amir Abdullah, and then Dylan Labe. He's like a running back from New Hampshire that they drafted in the 6th round, who's I actually like quite a bit, but it's not like a huge threat to his workload. Luke Getsy.
They thought he may change to wide receiver too on Labe.
Well,
they had him as a wide receiver down at Senior Bowl, I believe.
Interesting.
Well, he's our new Hunter Renfrow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Luke Getsy is now the play caller in Vegas. Last year in Chicago, he had the second most rushing attempts in the NFL last season. So I think this might be a little spicy too. Zamir, I haven't done my projections yet, but Zamir White, if he gets that kind of volume, they just got kind of one of their top picks was interior offensive lineman. Kind of help shore up the line there. Zamir could pretty easily. I think there's a path to him being a top 12 running back in the NFL next year, just because on volume. And this team's going to run the ball just a ton. Like you're not going to have Gardner Minshew just like slinging it all over the yard, right? Like Zamir, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think he can.
Too much Kool-Aid, yeah.
He's undervalued right now. Like right now, he's running back 29 on Fantasy Calc, which is like the 207 to 208. But honestly, outside of Jonathan Brooks, give me Zamir White over anyone else in this rookie class in terms of running backs.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't know if he'll be close to running back 12, but I can see him sneaking the top 20 for sure.
He could be, not that he will.
Yeah. Because his competition is terrible. That's like the biggest
Right.
thing.
Exactly.
Like his competition is terrible, right? And
So,
so I'm not a Raiders fan at all. So I'm kind of gonna try to be in the middle here between, because Ron's kind of gonna going crazy. But I do think Minshew will sling it a little bit. But I think I think he'll be closer to that RB 18 range, to be honest. And so I kind of agree. Like he's a really good buy right now. Like I have him on a couple teams, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should move him. But he's not someone that you're going to get much back for. So you kind of want to just hold and see what he does, and then maybe ship him off later, because I think he's going to be like a 1-year guy. And then I kind of agree with, because after Brooks, the other guys, I'll talk about it a little bit, but the other guys have competition, right? That are all like, there's nobody else. I think Bucky Irving's kind of one of the guys that's going to be used a little bit more, like maybe Blake Corum, but Kyren Williams is there. And so I think that's, that's fair.
Yeah. Like,
okay. So I totally agree that he is undervalued for sure. What is, I can't remember the other thing, but the reason, like, I could see a running. I could see
12 comment, wasn't it?
It's the top 12. That thing. I can't get there. No way. I'm sorry, McSpanky, but I think the Raiders have a long way to go, and you're relying on Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew as your quarterbacks. Hold on. So
exactly, that's my point.
No. I understand all the touches and stuff, but you're gonna play like between the 20s. Like you're not going into the red zone with Devontae, or not with Devontae Adams. Just think about Devontae, with those quarterbacks, with Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Like I just think it's gonna be like the volume might be there, but it's gonna be like 60 yards rushing, like 70 yards. Like it's just gonna be super ugly, super nasty, like less red zone trips. So like I could see running back 2 as like the ceiling. Like if he gets into the 12 to 24, and I mean he would be like tied at 24 with some people, I think.
So hold please. Hold on. So the last 4 weeks of the season last year, Zamir White.
Okay.
17 carries, 69 yards, nice, and a touchdown. 22 carries, 145 yards, no touchdowns. 20 carries, 71 yards. 25 carries, 112 yards. Like, are you telling me if he's getting like 20 carries a game, like he's not going to end up? Oh, he's close. I want to
know who those opponents
were. Okay. Chargers, Chiefs, Colts, Broncos.
The Chargers can't stop anybody, and the Broncos
that Chargers game, he also only played for like a half, because that was like the 7,000-0 game. So
I do want to like.
Hold on.
I know you're worried about Minshew putting up numbers, but when he started from week 5 on, they put up. The lowest they put up was 10, but that's one outlier. But every other game was 20, more than 20 points, right? And so his, for a couple of those games, his running back was Zach Moss, and then Jonathan Taylor after that. But I just think, I don't know. I think they will still put up solid points. Like I think they're gonna 24 points per game is probably something that they can do.
So let me put it this way though. If you are telling me for like a mid 2, which is basically his value right now, it's 207, 208. For a mid 2, you get a basically sure thing running back 2 with potentially top 12 upside. Like, what other running back are you buying for a mid 2 that gives you that kind of potential upside?
I agree with all the things you say until you start saying those crazy top 12 things. That's it. That's the only thing I can't get behind.
It's not crazy. If he falls into the end zone a few more times than you expect, it's not that crazy.
I don't know. I guess I'm just, picturing everybody, perfectly healthy.
You just hate the Raiders, and it's fine.
I don't hate the Raiders. I really don't. I swear to you. I just hate the things that they do.
Well.
So running back 12 last year, 12, 13, 14 was Bijan, Saquon, Gus Edwards. So I think he can, do something that Gus Edwards did.
I don't know.
I know the Ravens are a much better team, but I don't think Zamir White's that much worse of a running back than Gus Edwards.
Is what's important.
The volume.
They could be exactly the same, but it's that
and the Raiders are going to be about 500. Let's just put it that way. They're not going to just like completely be awful.
Right. Takes a special team to Carolina Panther.
Let's let that one cook for a minute. Well, we can come back to that
we should
later.
probably do a Zamir White bet, huh?
It sounds like we are. It sounds like we need to. Holler and I are 1-0 on you. So
That's right.
I know.
With the Bo Nix first round draft capital.
God bless America.
Last winner, real quick,
Oh.
and I'll try not to get too crazy on this one. But Bryce Young, I've been talking about him all offseason. And then this year, or in the draft, they drafted him a ton of help, right? So Xavier Leggett at 32, Jonathan Brooks at 46, Jatavian Sanders at 101. So they got him 2 new pass catchers and a better running back in the backfield. Not to mention they spent a ton of money on offensive linemen and then the free agency. And then just let's look back at what he's got working with him this year compared to last year. So this year, the depth chart is looking like Adam Thielen, Xavier Leggett, Deontay Johnson, Jonathan Brooks, Jatavian Sanders. Not to mention Dave Canales is now the play caller and an improved offensive line. Last year he had Adam Thielen, so same guy, but then DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo, Tommy Trimble, and Chuba Hubbard, and then PFF's 27th and 28th ranked pass blocking and run blocking offensive line. So that's fantastic, right? Like, did any other quarterback get such a upgrade, like a drastic upgrade? I don't think so, right?
No.
I can't think of one.
And so, I think the biggest thing for me is Canales is going to help him a lot.
He's the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, he truly is. Gino and Baker can thank Dave Canales for their contracts, I think.
For sure.
Should we hop into the losers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I had Kyron and Corum on there. We kind of touched on that a little bit. That's for fantasy wise. I think real NFL wise is great for Blake Corum and his career. He'd probably be able to stick around. I also put James Conner, having Trey Benson come to town. Conner has a tendency to get dinged up. He starts to get dinged up. Maybe Trey Benson grabs a hold of that job and doesn't let go. Conner's still a really good running back though too.
Yeah.
So his last year under contract too. So
I put Trey Benson on there as a little bit of a loser as well, just because James Conner is a good running back, right? I know he gets injured sometimes, so I think they kind of both are losers, right? Out of this, I think if you're taking Trey Benson though, like in early second, that's another guy that if James Conner gets injured, he could take the job, but I don't think so, because I think Arizona could be solid. Like, I know they were really bad last year, but I think they could be a solid team. I personally don't know much about their defense, but when I watched them last year, like they played tough, right? So I think they have a good coaching staff and things like that. But honestly, I think Trey Benson's more of a stash because I think James Conner will not be there in 2025. So my other one is Chuba Hubbard. I think he lost his job. He's going to lose his job to Jonathan Brooks for sure. And just win, I think, is the biggest point. I think some people were going into the offseason thinking Chuba Hubbard was going to be the RB1 there. So I think, Jonathan Brooks is a much better running back than Chuba Hubbard. And so I think if it's week 1, I don't know for sure. I think it will just depend on how Jonathan Brooks is recovering. And then one that I kind of stood out mainly because he fell in the draft and kind of also where he landed, Adonai Mitchell. I didn't really love the player going into the draft, but and then I also think he's landing in a spot that's going to be super competitive for targets, right? I personally think he's the 3rd best wide receiver on that team. I think, what's his name? The second,
Josh Downs.
Josh. Thank you, Josh Downs. I think he flashed pretty good last year, right? And then overall, I just think they're going to run the ball a lot. Anthony Richard, that's his first option, is to run the ball. Jonathan Taylor's there. He's obviously a top 5 running back. So I think he'll get on the field, but I just think it's going to be tough. He's going to be wide receiver 3. Maybe he shows he's a little bit better than Josh Downs, but they're both going to be taking a clear backseat to Michael Pittman.
I think you can make an argument that AD Mitchell will kind of continue his college trajectory and that he'll have splash games where he happens to catch, a deep ball or he gets a couple of touchdowns because when he's on, he's fantastic. But I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be able to support that many pass catchers. And I think they paid Michael Pittman all that money. Like, he's going to be the guy that gets fed the ball. Jonathan Taylor is going to get a bunch of rushing. Anthony Richardson's going to run the ball quite a bit. And then I think, Downs might have some games. I think A.D. Mitchell will have some games too. So I think it might be kind of sporadic production as opposed to consistent.
Yep. So I just think that landing spot, and he fell, and then his landing spot was not the best landing spot. But he's, he had some splash. I think he's a solid player. I think the main thing is just immature. So hopefully he matures and maybe he takes over Josh Downs, and maybe he's a solid wide receiver too. But I just think he could have landed at a better spot. For sure.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I thought was a loser, which is kind of weird because he's a top 10 pick, but Rome Odunze, he's the third wide receiver off the board. He goes 9th overall to Chicago, which is fantastic, right? Top 10 draft capital. He's a great player, but they obviously drafted Caleb Williams as well with their first overall pick. So I think he's going to have a good quarterback. The problem is, they have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen there. They just traded for Keenan Allen. Traded for DJ Moore last year. DJ Moore is clearly the one. Is Rome Odunze going to get kind of the Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of crapped on kind of role that what happened last year? It's the same play caller, right? Shane Waldron's coming over from Seattle. I think they're different players. I think Odunze is better than Smith and Jigba, but can a rookie quarterback sustain 3 top wide receivers? And Cole Kmet is a good tight end too. So and not to mention DeAndre Swift is
DeAndre Swift out of the backfield.
He's a talented
more pass catcher anyway. Yeah.
So that's a lot of mouths to feed for a rookie.
So
I don't know
I think that's a good call out, right? I think the biggest thing is he's a loser off of kind of where he landed, and then where people are slotting him in their rankings right away is he's actually above DJ Moore in my rankings, I think in your rankings, Spanky, and also JB's rankings. And so, I just think we're going to be a little disappointed in his production year one, but maybe he'll overtake Keenan Allen, right? But I don't know. They went out and grabbed Keenan Allen, so I think it might just be a slow process with Rome Odunze, and we're going to be thinking ooh, we want that, instant gratification. But I think, he's still my wide receiver 3. I'm gonna still take him. If my quarterbacks are secure, I would take him over some quarterbacks. So I just think,
Let me ask Ron, because I know my answer to this. But would you take Rome Odunze over JJ McCarthy still, or no?
It's really going to be roster dependent, but I think I'm still going to be Rome Odunze just because I kind of hate the super late meteoric rise of JJ McCarthy. It gives me slight pause, but like we've talked about, the situation is so good, it's almost really hard for him to fail in that situation.
Fair. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to ask Ron that.
Because I kind of knew the answer to that too, right? And so the one guy I would take over him would be Drake May, but
I can't do it. I hate the Drake.
You can't.
I can't.
I'm saying I would take Rome over.
Oh, you would take him?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. If my quarterbacks are secure, I'm picking at 107, 106, right? And I'm there, and I have Rome Odunze, Drake May, and Brock Bowers there. I'm probably taking Rome Odunze every time, right? If I need a tight end, I'm going to take Brock. Maybe if it's a tight end premium, I might take Brock Bowers over him. But I just think Rome Odunze is such a good player that once, and Keenan Allen's old. So I think once Keenan Allen's gone, I think him and DJ Moore are going to be both pretty darn good.
For sure. Another guy that was a loser, we kind of touched on it earlier, but Michael Mayer. So a year after the Raiders traded up in the second round to go draft Michael Mayer, they take Brock Bowers at 13th overall. So I think this severely caps, Michael Mayer's ceiling. I think he can still be relevant. I think he can still be a good football player, but I think that just crapped all over his tight end one kind of any hope that we might have had for him. And then Michael Penix Jr., it has to be said, what the hell happened there?
Yep.
Dude,
Like, I
so insane.
I can't think of any like rationale behind drafting
No.
Michael Penix at 8. And like, if that was your plan all along, why did you pay Kirk Cousins like $100 million guaranteed? And by the way, like with their dead money, they are locked into Kirk Cousins until 2027. So the only way Michael Penix is seeing the field is if 1, he gets traded, or 2, Kirk Cousins gets injured. And that just feels like you're wasting premium draft capital, and I just don't understand it. Like I don't know.
Spot on. And I so far haven't taken any Michael Penix, right? And
Same.
there's been times where I could grab him at like 206, 207. I just can't get myself to do it, right? I'm not going to draft a backup quarterback, right?
I can take him over Leggett and Mitchell easy.
See,
I've been taking him over Leggett and Mitchell easily.
I wouldn't, because, and we kind of talked about this before the show a little bit, but it's one of those things where like, I want the players I draft, I want to know if they suck or not, like as early as possible. And with Penix, you're not going to know for a few years because he's not going to see the field. So you're just going to waste a roster spot on a guy who maybe is good, maybe he's not. Whereas if A.D. Mitchell or Xavier Leggett, if they suck, like we're going to know it, and then we can just kind of cut bait and move on.
Sure. So yeah, I've been taking some Leggett where I've had the chance, like Leggett, Penix, and one time I even took Troy Franklin at like 208, just because I still believe in Troy Franklin, and so like I said, I can't get myself to picking a backup in the second round. I know he's a solid quarterback. I don't know if he's good enough to be a really good NFL quarterback, but I don't know. I think you hit the nail on the head. They're wasting like premium draft capital when they could probably compete this year. They have a good team. They could have gotten themselves a good defender. They could have gotten themselves.
They could have gotten Rome Odunze to go with Drake London.
Yeah. So there's like tons of things
right there.
It
was
a lot of things they
super nuts pick
rather than
Brock Bowers.
and if
any of them, I was going to say Brock Bowers, but I I don't think they would have done that, but it would have been better, in my opinion. It would have been better.
At this point, they might have.
It might have. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we're not GM, so there's something we're missing a little bit, but we can all scrutinize.
We've done a better job than the Falcons GM did.
I agree, but we can all scrutinize and see, like, I'm Wes. That's spot on. Cousins was a win now move. Penix is the opposite, right? Like, if they're worried about Cousins getting hurt, why'd you sign him? If you're worried about Cousins dipping, why'd you sign him?
If you were worried about that, why did you pay him $100 million guaranteed? Like, that's not a move you make if you have any kind of reservations of him.
Yep, a lot of mixed messaging going on here.
Right. Yeah. And if you wanted a backup, like take Spencer Rattler or Michael Pratt in like the 5th round and call it good. Like
you could have done the Green Bay thing and traded up into the back end of the 1st and taken Penix, and like I would have been like, oh, okay.
So I do think the Raiders were taking Michael Penix.
You think the Raiders would have taken him?
Supposedly that is like what they were doing. Like that's all everything I heard out of there. But
I think somebody would have, since how all the quarterbacks went, somebody would have taken him and would have moved up, earlier.
But still, I just it doesn't make sense.
At 8, that's so wild.
Anywho.
Well, you guys have anything else?
That's it.
That's it.
Just crap on NFL GMs.
Don't draft Michael Penix.
Right.
That's my 2-minute drive.
Just do it over Leggett and Mitchell if you want to.
No.
Don't do that.
Ron's doing it. All right. See you guys later.
Peace.